Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I go by Hiram or Bogwa. Hey guys, welcome to another tutorial. So today I'll be covering Java strings. And so far we've covered variables and we looked at primitive variables and wrapper variables. So next we'll look at string. So whenever we call the toString method, whether it's a character or a number, and it's a common method that we utilize to return a string description of the values within the class, right? So for now, let's go ahead and get started and look at what a string is and kind of understand how to work with a string. Whenever we define the static void main method, we have a string and then we have those ... So in essence, we're defining a string arrays, and arrays will cover them next. But today we're going to look at string and understand how strings works and what all you can do with strings. Alright, so let's get started. So I'll go ahead and create the strings class. Strings guide.java, and then I'll go ahead and define the common class, public class strings guide, and then, as you know, define the public static void main string args. And this time I'm going to do something a little bit different. And I'll go ahead and compile. Okay, now the error that I got here, there's something wrong with the class name. So as I've told you before, the class name should match the file name, and in this instance, if you look at the guide, I have a lowercase g. There it is. So let's go ahead and run Java string guide. But no, one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pass an argument in here. So I'll pass Jogu. And interesting, you see what happens? It ran this code and it printed out the argument that I'm passing. So this allows me to pass any string. So if you go back and let's look at the code. I don't want to get into arrays right now, but we'll look at arrays in another video. So here what I'm saying is I'm gonna, whenever we define this string ... args, what we're saying is this argument is gonna take in an array of strings. And here what I'm doing is I'm printing out the first element. So in programming we start with 0. That will cover the arrays in the next tutorial that I'll be doing. Okay, so let's define a string. So we'll do string name equals CodeRush. So in the previous tutorial where I covered variables, I defined a character, and I was showing you that a character can only have let's do char value, can only have a single character, right? And I have to utilize single quotes. But the difference between a string and a character is a string can have multiple characters, right? A string is sort of like an array of characters, and it uses double quotes. So now let's look at the toString method the character class has, and let's say char toString equals char value dot toString. So what this does, it's going to return a string version of this character. And let's print it out. And note that I use pluses to concatenate the string constant and the variable. let's compile it. And there it is. It printed out code rush, and then it printed out the character string. Let me just change this from code rush to just be code rush. So the next thing we're going to look at is like some of the methods that string class provides you with that are helpful as a developer. So let's go system.out. For example, you can get the length of the string. So that will let us know how many characters are in there. Another thing that we can do name dot to uppercase. Another one is you can guess, you can have two lower case. So now let's try this and see what happens. Compile it, and it fails. And that's because .length is a method that I did not call. And there it is. You see I could have fixed that. There it is. You see the uppercase, you're able to convert that to uppercase, also lowercase. You're also able to retrieve the total length of characters. Okay, so another method that we can look at is concatenate. So let's see. Let's just do this. Code rush. We can concatenate the name, the string with another string. So let's see. So I'll concatenate it with the argument with string that I'm passing. So this should print out code rush app by whatever value I pass. Compiles fine. And there it is. Code rush app by Hiram Jogu. Those are some of the basic methods that you would need to know. And you can go look them up. I'll add a link in the description with the different methods that exist in a string class. So now let's look at the special characters when utilizing strings. So what happens whenever you want to utilize double quotes within double quotes, right? If I want to print out a string statement, but it has double quotes. Clearly, as you can see, let's try and compile this and see what happens first. It fails to compile because you can't have double quotes. The way the compiler interprets it, so it defines like this string ends here, so it's kind of expecting a semicolon here. So in order to utilize the double quotes inside a string, we have to use what's called an escape character. So, and that's the backslash. And as you can see, it's changed. So use it there, use it there. So that just tells Java to ignore this quote and simply take it as it's part of the string. So now let's compile and see. Compiles fine. And now let's run and see. And there it is. But we did not print it out. Let me print it out. Well, let me run it and let's see. First compile it. Then run it. And there it is. You have your string with the double quotes. Now what happens if I wanted to print out a backslash, right? Now, if that was the case, I'd backslash the backslash. That way I can print out the backslash. So let's compile it again and see. There it is. You have your backslash. And those are the special characters to keep in mind whenever you're working with strings. So this, let's do. It's a test. There it is. You can put the single quotes inside the double quotes. That works just fine. You don't need to escape anything. Another special character that we can work with inside a string is the new line, and that would be \n. So let's compile that and see. And there it is, as you can see, special character string, and then it goes to a new line, and that's where it print out it's a test. There's also a tab, which is \t, so we can do that too. And there it is, running. I'll put a link in the description that takes you to a guide that has all the different methods that you can utilize in a string. Thank you for watching my tutorials. Give it a thumbs up if you like it, and subscribe if you haven't, and also check me out on Instagram at coderush.io.